There are 221 episodes, 5 movies, 13 shorts, 2 specials, and over 200 comics of Friendship is Magic alone. Additionally, there are 27 episodes of Make Your Mark, 96 officially released Tell Your Tale episodes with more in the leaks, 4 specials, 1 movie, and also several dozen comics, which were still being published until somewhat recently. Long story short, MLP, G4, and G5 have a lot of content. And with so many different episodes and movies come a lot of fun facts, some more commonly known than others. So let's take a look at some interesting but mostly dumb facts about MLP. Starting with some facts I myself knew or found out while making these videos, which likely means most of you will already know them. For example, the Season 5 episode Slice of Life has a bunch of references to fandom stuff, but the funniest one to me is that during the big action scene of them driving through Ponyville, in the middle of all these rapid cuts, for a single frame, a picture of some of the show crew appears, who are all wearing horse masks. Now, obviously I slowed it down here so you can see. In real speed, it actually looks like this. Next up, there are a bunch of animation errors in the show. Now, these aren't necessarily obscure, a lot of people know about them, including myself. And I did think I knew of all of them, until I recently found a bunch more when doing research for another video. And I kinda went down a rabbit hole of animation errors, so now I'm gonna show you some of the ones I know about. But since there is a bunch of small animation errors that no pony really cares about, like background pony 37 missing their wings in the background for a single scene, I will try to focus on the more significant ones. Starting with some of the more common errors, I assume almost everyone knows about this stallion's face morphing into a cyclops for a few frames in the final episode of Season 1. Same with this incredibly cursed frame in the Season 5 opening where Rainbow Dash's neck does this. Now, I don't know much about Flash animation, but can someone please explain to me how this just accidentally happens? I genuinely do not get it. Same with this next one during the Season 8 episode Granny's Gone Wild. I can understand accidentally using a wrong model for a character in the background, accidentally giving them wings or a horn, or even both in some cases. Especially during the earlier seasons when there was much less budget and they reused models all the time. But this is in Season 8, and this guy is the center of the shot for a full second. How did no one catch this? Another weird little thing happens in the Season 9 opening, where they forgot to remove a movement indicator from the storyboard layer, which made it to the final cut. This honestly makes a lot more sense to miss though. You finish animating the scene, you forgot to remove the arrow, and no one looked at that specific part of the frame during review. Now, I could probably fill another 5 more minutes of this video with just animation errors, but that would likely be incredibly boring to watch, so let's do 2 more obscure ones and then move on. First, during the Season 5 finale, when Twilight is going to all the different alternate universes with the time travel spell, Pinkie shows up as a Pegasus for a single scene, which is a more minor error, but since it's on one of the main 6, it felt worth including because that shouldn't have happened. And lastly, in the beginning of the Season 6 episode Dungeons and Discords, we see a shot where a duplicate of Twilight's tail is somehow attached to the end of Spike's tail. I get that this was missed, but I'm also once again very confused on how this even happened. What in the software caused Twilight's tail to duplicate and then attach to Spike instead? Regardless, I said I was moving on from animation errors, so let's actually do that. These next 2 facts I have are also a little more well known, so I'll try to go through them quickly so we can get to the more interesting stuff next. Nurse Redheart's original design had to be changed as her cutie mark and hat featured a red cross, which is a protected symbol under the Geneva Convention. And that will never not be funny, honestly. It's something so simple, but then name-dropping the Geneva Convention of all things as the reason you needed to change it is hilarious to me. And next up, there are a lot of references to other franchises, characters, or real people in the show. Some of the more commonly known ones include Rick and Morty, Walter White, Gordon Ramsay, and you could even count Cheese Sandwich as a cameo, as his character was specifically written after Weird Al expressed interest in voicing some pony on the show. But there are also some less known ones, like Dorothy, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Glinda from The Wizard of Oz, making appearances in the Season 9 episode Between Dark and Dawn and Growing Up is Hard to Do. Even Slender Man makes an appearance at some point. Or well, Slender Pony, being briefly visible in the background of just 3 frames during the Season 4 episode Pinkie Apple Pie. But honestly, my favorite bits have to be the Easter eggs to some of the kids from the movie The Shining. There is a recreation of the whole blood elevator scene in Make New Friends But Keep Discord in Season 5, and the twins make a brief background appearance during the Season 6 episode Where the Apple Lies before disappearing mysteriously. Now just quickly something completely different in the middle of all this. Did you guys know that Starlight wrote a manifesto when she was practicing equality? During the Season 7 episode Fame and Misfortune, Starlight mentions this.
I learned the spell years ago when I needed to make copies of a certain... manifesto.
This isn't anything special, and I'm sure a lot of you knew this already, but I happened to come across it while I was getting thumbnails for the episode polls, and I felt like I had to share it. And lastly, before we move on to some of the viewer suggestions, let's talk about the Pie Sisters, specifically the original Pie Sisters. Sorry Not Sorry mode. During a panel at PonyCon Holland 2023, show writer G.M. Barrow shared that when she originally named Pinky's sisters, she specifically chose to name them Marble and Limestone, so their initials, Marble, Limestone, and Pinky, would spell out MLP. You can actually hear the crowd's realization and surprise when she answers this too.
When I wrote the Pinkie Pie book, that was the first time I had all her sisters in there, and I named them Marble, Limestone, and Pinky for MLP. That's why they were named that.
Something new.
And then later they added Maud, which she wasn't in that one, but she still matches because she's an M. But that's why I did that.
And now onto the less boring segment of the video. At the start of December, I asked you guys in a poll what the most obscure fact was that you knew about G4 or G5. There were a couple of interesting responses, so let's go over those. Omar Vasquez replied, the fact that Thunderlane had a whole character arc in the background trying to become a Wonderbolt. And does he? I know he has some background appearances that show his progression towards joining the Bolts, sure. We first see him appear in Hurricane Fluttershy as this lazy, annoying guy. Then we see him as part of the training group in Wonderbolt's Academy, to eventually being seen as an official Wonderbolt in Parental Guidance. But it doesn't really feel like a whole character arc to me, honestly. Don't get me wrong, it's really awesome that the animators gave Thunderlane a story of improvement throughout the seasons, just like they did with so many other background characters. But it's lacking basically everything that would qualify it as a character arc. There's no detail to any obstacles we see like we have with Dash's journey into joining the Wonderbolts. No low points, stuff like that. There is definitely some character growth between the Thunderlane we see in Season 2 versus the one we see in Season 7, but that doesn't feel like it's enough to justify it as a full character arc to me. It's still a very good spot though. Next up, we have this comment from Galaxy Drift 55, who mentions that Applejack's parents were actually already hinted at during a royal problem, 4 episodes before The Perfect Pair actually released. When Starlight swaps the princess's cutie marks and they take on each other's responsibilities, there is a moment where we essentially see Celestia window shopping the dreams that she's going to invade. During that sequence, you can apparently see a baby Applejack being held by her parents, where it doesn't show their faces, but the coat colors match. Now, I was kind of skeptical, and I went back to check this scene, because A Royal Problem is one of my favorite episodes, and I honestly never noticed that. And yeah, there is indeed a baby Applejack being held by what you can only assume to be her parents. Although, the colors in this little bubble are very faded due to the light and magical effect, so I can't say with 100% certainty that this was the animators giving us a little teaser about the identity of her parents before the actual episode was released. But honestly, A Perfect Pair released 3 episodes later. What other reason or motivation would they have? That is a really good fact and really, really well spotted. The next fact I was unable to find a source of any kind for, but it's kind of funny so I wanted to include it anyways. Phoenix Ashes commented, the fact that Sombra is bisexual. I don't think that fact is known enough, which sucks. He's hot and I wish we got an evil romance story for him with either Radiant Hope or someone else entirely. What? I mean, listen, I totally agree with you. Sombra is hot, and an evil romance arc with him would have been even hotter. But like, what are you basing this on? Besides me, the only character we ever see be even remotely close with Sombra is Radiant Hope, and that also didn't feel particularly romantic. I am genuinely curious what your source for this is. Please share it in the comments if there's actually a piece of Sombra lore that I missed. Next up, a comment left by Brandon the Draconiquus, who says that Princess Luna was originally going to be called Princess Selena, but the idea had to be abandoned due to legal reasons. Now, I tried to find a source for this, but all I could find was a 14-year-old Reddit post talking about how Princess Luna was indeed referred to as Princess Selena in concept artworks. The links to the concept artworks unfortunately didn't work anymore, so I wasn't able to verify it for myself. So, editing Lumin, quickly interrupting here, wearing the 2014 fit because I need an excuse to use it again. As I was grabbing screenshots of the Reddit post to put in the video, I noticed that the link actually did work. So I don't know if I just found a different Reddit post, or if the site was down when I was recording this video, or if I'm genuinely just losing my mind. But yeah, it works, and it does indeed show what appears to be an MLP storybook that refers to Luna as Princess Selena. Additionally, it has a quote from Lauren Faust in there talking about the legal issue. I'll just leave a link to the website in the description. So, yeah, seems this one might be correct after all. Anyway, let's get back to the video. But honestly, I'm glad they ultimately settled on Princess Luna as a name. I do get the appeal that the royal sister should have somewhat similar names, but Celestia and Selena are a little too similar in my opinion. Still, that's a really cool and apparently pretty ancient fact to know about. Another one that was left in a comment by Celtic Fish was about a censored or reanimated scene of the Mean Six being destroyed at the end of, well, the Mean Six episode. I was able to find a 7-year-old video on YouTube of a side-by-side of this supposed scene, where you can clearly see the original version lingering just a little bit longer on the characters melting, making it appear quite a bit more graphic. And while the difference isn't that big, I do also understand why it was changed. But also, why was this in the show in the first place? Did they forget their original target audience, or were kids in 2018 just much harder to traumatize? Like 20 years ago, it only took a bear and a lion on a cart to scare an entire generation, but this was just okay? Anyways, I am getting so sidetracked, sorry. That is a really cool fact, and I actually did not know about that one yet. Next up, a comment about Spike, which usually means I'd skip it altogether, but this one sounded kinda interesting. It was left by username not found 80 and says, in Party of One, Spike admits to Pinky that he ruined Twilight's copy of Magical Mysteries and Practical Potions. Then he confesses that he used up all the water in Ponyville for a 7-hour bubble bath. In Magical Mystery Cure, Spike takes another one of those, which is why he wasn't present when Twilight swapped every pony's cutie mark around. And honestly, I got pretty excited when I first read this comment. It sounded like one of those really cleverly animated consistencies that we see in the background of the show, where we would see Spike getting ready to take a bath, which implies that he's going to be gone for the next 7 hours, because we know that from Party of One, which then sparks its own fan theory or something like that. But then I actually went ahead and watched both episodes, and Twilight just straight up mentioned Spike taking his bubble bath when she was messing around with the spell that swapped the elements.
Last night when you were taking one of your 7-hour bubble baths, I got a special delivery from the princess.
It's still a good spot though, and I do like the attention to detail from the writers, there's no argument there. I just got my expectations up a little bit too high. Though I do really like the idea of doing a video where I react to a bunch of conspiracy-adjacent fan theories. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Please let me know if you guys would want to see that at some point. Anyways, just one more suggestion to go. This one was left by Fanny T and says, wearing an MLP t-shirt as a 4th grader will get you bullied by someone who never knew the magic of friendship. Yeah, the only thing I really have to say about this is... that is just a massive skill issue. I don't know what to tell you.